avec la communication de Madame, alors je prononce très mal, évidemment, Hilkka Liisa Vuori, oui. Pardon. Elle est docteure en musicologie. Elle fait des recherches sur le chant grégorien. Marcel est là, je pense. Il est reparti, oui. Elle chante aussi dans l'ensemble Vox Silentii avec Johanna Kor-Onen. Pardon encore pour le... Alors, ces dernières publications, il y a plusieurs publications. Alors, je ne peux pas les prononcer parce que c'est dans une langue que je ne connais pas, mais il y a plusieurs publications de sa part. Il y a aussi des CD. Alors ça, je peux le dire parce que c'est en latin, alors ça va. Nolite Timere, des chants médiévaux, c'est à propos des anges, en 2022. Félix Thomas, alors c'est que je vous recommande, Lumen Mundi, c'est l'office de Saint Thomas qu'elle chante, elle a chanté, qu'elle a enregistré il y a en 2016. Je crois que Marika, vous y avez participé, non? Oui, c'est ça. Avec le frère Marie-Augustin, un frère de la province de France. Donc, elle va nous parler en anglais. The modality in chants in the office of St Thomas Aquinas, dans mon français impeccable.
Merci.
À vous.
Merci, and my daughter taught me to say that bonjour. Je suis désolée, ne parle français. And that's then changed to English. And thank you for inviting me here. I'm very happy to be here with you today. And the subject today is the modality. And the modality especially now in the translatio office of Thomas Aquinas. So now if you are in the thought that we are talking a lot about manuscripts, I'm sorry, now it's about the modes. And first, the concept of mode. There is this modern concept of scale and about, I'm working with the microphone now, about a scale, a way of doing, a tune from the Oxford Dictionary, and an instruction. And this is something that we want to stick with today. And then, of course, I couldn't miss Plato and his idea as a mode, as a state of a mind, and different feelings and different effects that the modes have on human being. But then my favorite is Aristoxenus from the Antiquity, and his words that it is the practical work. It is a practical work of musician, so it is a practical, not an invention of theorists, but practical singing. So the concept is there, and then we broaden it a little bit. Here, we're familiar to all of you probably, the Western modes, and from a musician, the important ones are numbers from 1 to 8, and the letters from D to G. So the world is really simple here, isn't it? Then my favorite, Domsolnia Daniel, and my gratitude to him. I used to sleep, I think, his book under my pillow. And last summer when I saw him, I asked him, 2022, that when are we going to talk about the modes? And he answered to me that if he can choose, never. That he wants to concentrate one chant at a time and not talk about modes anymore. So this is one possible scenario about modes with all the different wordings and different adjectives. And I must say that I love this quite a lot. But today I want us lead to the idea of modality with a little bit different kind of atmosphere. So the 4 points I am talking about today, the first is the small details. We take one chant and sing it. And I want to point out some formula, not the formula car, but formula in the musical way, the little particle in music. And the second point I want to bring forward is the continuity from chant to chant. And this, I think, may raise some questions also about the modality as a building up the saint, but also something that I cannot let go when there are so many Dominicans here, the modality as obedience. And unfortunately, I don't have any source for that. It is an experimental point of view of a musician as I am. And then we have a little case of exception, the third grade responsory in the translation office. We talk about that a little bit. And then finally, the modality from time to time between the offices, the contrafacta idea with the offices. Here, just to glimpse the sources, not the sources, but the libraries where the sources are from in my paper. And the main sources are from Colmar. And then there is Codex Humbertus for the Dominican source, the Dominicus office, and then Perugia and Melbourne, the Poissy, and then from Vatican, one source. So, my favorite chant. I always come back to this little chant, and sorry, I try to be really serious here, but can't do it, because this is a happy matter. For me, the whole liturgy is there. Mirandis signis claruit. So this part of the chant, I think, oh, there's the whole office. I did it, I sang it, I go out. So there are more chants, but this one particle, if you sing with me, Mirandis signis claruit. Let's try. Mirandis signis claruit. Yes, thank you. Merci. And when I was singing this first time with Brother Marie Augustin, he's originally, I think, from the Strasbourg monastery. So I was thinking here that the person who wrote this liturgy loved Thomas Aquinas and had so much respect, and he loved to do this. So it's not a minor office, I think. I think it's made with deep, profound ideas. And sometimes the modality is the connection of the text and music. We all know that it's not always so carrying away with the text and music together as in the marriage, but in some parts like this, da 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 da, it is a formula that we all know from the second mode. Angelorum esca. So that formula, he wanted to write it in the part there where Thomas Aquinas, Mirandis signis claruit, the body once lay hidden in its tomb in Terracina. Later it appeared to all in Toulouse with wondrous signs. So we are in the ground, we are in the grave with Thomas. And then Mirandis signis claruit appears with miracle signs. So the formula here is really tied up with the text. Should we sing the whole chant once, maybe? Corpus quatiulatuit in terracine loculo. Just be more braver. Mirandis signis claruit pastintolo sepatulo. And unfortunately, I don't have here the psalm, and thank you that you wrote the book where all the psalms are not for Transradio, but the So now we have one point of view for the modality, and that is the formulas and the respect for the formulas that are used in the different chants. And sometimes they really are thought with the text. Then the next point of view about I didn't want to have it like that. No. Is the third mode. That was the second mode. And with this third mode antiphon, I was thinking about the great responsories, but then I was thinking that we are not going to leave here before 2 if I take the greatest chants. And with this other antiphon, the clergy and the common people hasten to the sacred body, all rejoice at such a gift, great and small alike. And this mode, with this chant, I don't want to bring forth the modal formula or a particle, but the interval. Because sometimes the modality is so connected with a certain intervals in certain modes, and with this one, the small second interval, but very large. So there we have the modality. For me, I can interpret that, well, it is the mystery and the devotion and the contemplation with this mode. But whatever you think about it is as well as good. But the interval is mathematics. And that is something that I think the modality. Let's sing this one too. Maybe? Do you want to sing? Yeah. O curunt sacro corpori, clerus et urbe populi, quam gaudet tanto muneri, cuncti grandes et parvuli. So I didn't watch the music and went on my way. But the modality in this chant is always with the interval of the second and what we bring forward from that. Then I didn't know that I made it like that. Sorry, I hate it when it appears. Yes, sorry. Now we have the office, the rhymed office. And with the rhymed office, many times the texts are in poetic rhymery, but also with the rhymed office, it is built from the modes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, especially the matins and the louds also. But when I have been singing the office, I have been thinking that, well, it is not from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but it is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 1, 7, 8, 1. And as I have been singing the office, of course there are the psalms then there, and there are the lessons before the great responsories. And now this is really controversial, maybe what I am talking now about, but I want to talk about it to you. Because then I started to feel that, oh, my heart burns for the chant. And when I give my heart to one chant, I don't want to leave it. I want to stay there forever. And then comes the next chant. And I was like, please God, I have to leave that chant and move to the next one, to the next mode. And you get my idea. Then comes the next chant, and I have to leave again the one chant and go to the next one. And only word that I could think about it was obedience. Well, you see, I'm not living in the monastery, but anyways, I'm saying now this word here. Obedience. That when I sing one mode, whatever is the feeling I have about it, I have to move to the next mode. And in the rhymed office, it is in the order from 1 to 8 with a little repetition. And with the mass chants and other offices, it might not be the order from 1 to 8, but it is anyways the necessity to leave the mode and move to the next one. So it started really interest me, this point of view that what happens in the silence, what is hidden between the chants. So when I sing one chant, and in the silence, I need to leave that chant and move to the next one. So for me nowadays, the modality is same thing as obedience, to be there for that chant and let it go. And that's one idea that I'm interested in. And the next chant we sing, in some parts I think that it is easier to move from one mode to the next mode. And in some parts it is more difficult maybe to move from one mode to the next mode. So if you move from the first mode to the second mode, they are both, finalis is D. It is maybe easier than when you need to move from, for example, from the third or fourth mode to the fifth mode, when the atmosphere is really different. And I think that is the beauty of the modality. Whatever you think about, you might think that, oh, the D mode has this effect on me. But, well, who cares, if I may say? What is the adjective about it? If you anyways are going to sing it and then leave it and move to the next mode. So it is not so important what you think about the modes, what is the modality between the melody and the text, but it is the importance that there are the different modes, so that you sing the mode and move forward. And this one I always feel is like the firecrackers. You know, the New Year's evening when there are lots of firecrackers and the happy feeling. And there we go with the fifth mode. Matri vitae. From this chant, we can sing maybe only this one, the beginning a little bit, but let's try it. And let it go straight as happily as the sound is making you, maybe. Matri vitae, iam reptum, vivum repedit filium, et inter hostes protectum, tutum servat Devium. Thank you. And here you see that I have a lot of footnotes there. So I wanted to put somewhere the footnotes so that you see how little differences there have been between the sources that I have gone through with the offices, about 20 sources, I think. But here, the most of the sources are from Kolmar. And we decided with a comparison that we take the Kolmar version as the one we write because there are so many of them. Now you have got the idea of the modality as in intervals, modality as in the formula, and modality as a way of obedience just to follow from the mode to the other one. And then one example, and this is now the third grade responsory from the Translatio office. And with the third grade responsory corpus datur, in our research we noticed that in two sources there were the mode 3 and then there were mode 6 in the most of the sources. And the two sources were from Perugia, and then the other sources you see there now are quite a lot with the 6th mode. And with our research we came to the idea that because the office is contrafacta from Dominicus' office, and there it is a third mode, the third grade responsory, So the third mode is probably the first one in the third grade responsory with the Thomas's Translatio. But why the 6th mode then? Here I think I could think that it could be with the modality, because the third grade responsory was really respected and used because it's also the one sung in Vespers. And also the text of this great responsory, this body is given on the feast of Corpus Christi. Well, I don't have to explain this to you, but this is the third great responsory. And if we sing a little bit of it, we go back and if we sing first the lower one, now I sing it slowly, you can also read at the same time. I'm a little bit too fast maybe. And we are going in the mode 3. Corpus datur in festo corpori Christi cuius, and so forth. And then it was changed to this sixth mode. La 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 la. Corpus datur, sorry there. Corpus, everybody, datur festo corporis. So I can't really see it, but anyways, you get the idea of the modality in here too. The same chant changed from the third mode to the sixth mode. And I'm always very interested in melismasy. And here, when we look at these two chants, let's go further. We come with the path leads us from the Thomas Aquinas translatio chants to the Dominicus. And the greatest difference, I think, the change with the translatio was the third great responsory change to the sixth mode. Why? Maybe because the brothers wanted a happier melody for the sixth mode, or reasons we don't know. Or maybe they even didn't feel that it was a happier melody. They just wanted to change the mode. But here we have something that also I want to have a time to bring forward a little bit, is this contrafacta. And with the Dominicus, this third great responsory, it is in the third mode. And with the Thomas, as we just were singing, brothers changed it from the third mode to the sixth mode. But Dominicus is the third mode. So here I have the comparison about melismasy. And melismasy is the number of notes in the chant or song divided with the syllables. And if we compare the melismasy in translatio, in the response parts, it's 2.7. And if we look at the melismasy in the Dominicus chant, it's 3.25. And overall, all the Dominicus offices, responses, they are more melismatic. And Thomas Aquinas translatio, it has less melismasy. And as a practical musician, what that means to me, what it means to the singer, it means that in Thomas's translatio, when it is more syllabic, you can more easily follow the text. And when it's more melismatic, well, I feel that it's more meditative or contemplative and carries me away. But also you can just think that it's more melismatic and it has more notes for one syllable, but with Thomas's translatio, it's easier to get the text out of there. And that's maybe when we think why it is more syllabic, maybe because it was important to bring forward the story of Thomas. Then I took just the glimpse of the end of this response, when with the last sentence you can see here with the Dominicus, with extollitur along melisma, which is typical for the great responsories, that the last word is really melismatic, but with the Thomas more syllabic. And here the difference, you see, in the one last line is 3.7 and 6.17. And I'm not trying to value that the melismatic music would be more important than the syllabic. I think they both have their places, how you approach the Mass. What is, I would call it a mission of the office, I mean. The mission of the office, the mission of the liturgy. What is, what would you want to express it in the liturgy? Here I just took a little glimpse for you for the statistics, because now we see here we have the third mode great responsory in E mode, in F mode, in Thomas's Translatio, and then the Dominicus, and then Thomas's feast day there also. And if we look the melismases here on the right side, the Dominicus office has the 3.25, but surprisingly also Thomas's feast day has a melismacy of 3.94. So it is more melismatic the feast day than the Translatio. But also when we look at the sixth mode here, the one that replaced the third great responsory in the third mode, it is really melismatic. And I think that is also very interesting that for that special chant, brothers wanted a more melismatic chant. It is the most melismatic response part of the great responsories in Translatio. And then, je suis désolé, I had to put it there. So, the word pertains to the heart and the voice to the ear. When the voice strikes our ear, but the word does reach our mind, it has an inane sound without a useful food. But if the word is born in my heart, it is not without voice. The voice is created for this, not to bring forth the word that did not exist, but to make apparent what was hidden. And I think that is something deeply in modality. Because a modality is a connection of a text of and the music. So that it is not only one chant, but it is only the Dominicus chant, which is then contrafacta in Thomas's. So every time, for example, when I sing this, mirandi signis, in my heart also might go the Dominicus chant. And it goes also from the Corpus Christi, the Angelorum, that goes there too. And also for me, there goes the Brigittine chants with the Maria Summa Trinitasi, for example. But it's hidden there when you even hear some melody in your body, mind, and heart. There goes all, even if you don't think about it, everything that you have sung with that melody. So it is building up from generation to generation, apparent what was hidden, so the text is already there when you have the melody. And then the conclusions. I know everybody is eager to go to eat, so conclusions. So the first is the modality in the small musical forms, modality with a connection to the text. And it is not always equal. Not all the chants have the strong connection, and whatever we feel about them, we all feel different. So there isn't any adjective I can give you. Then the modality in the musical intervals, and this is mathematics. And for me, if I try to sing out of the equal tuning into the natural harmonics, then there happens interesting things, because the third interval in the first mode is really high, and then also in the fifth mode maybe even really over major. But in the musical intervals, and modality as a way of letting go from one chant when moving to the next one, building up the saint with the chants, building up oneself, the obedience. So building up the saint, I didn't talk now so much, because I think you are all very familiar with the proceeding of the office, how it introduces Thomas and then the miracles. And so it's building up the saint with the modes and music, but also the singer. Modality through times, in the silence between the chants, in the silence between centuries, and in the chants between the silences. So I feel that it is more important than we normally realize what it happens in the silence between the chants. We sometimes realize the silence in the psalmody because it comes within ourselves in the psalm, but between the chants. And then melismasy as an example of a different appearance of the same melody and the mode between the offices, different missions. The modality when you look at the text, 2 texts, 3 texts with the same melody. And also there is a Corpus Christi office with the same Thomas Aquinas melody, but unfortunately the only source that I have found about it has only the incipit for the response, so there's not much calculating there. But different missions. And then I would like to end this with the words of Father Innocent Smith. And he writes, thus the liturgy helps to form a Dominican saint, and the liturgy composed in honor of that saint helps to form other Dominicans. And I would add that maybe it's just the singers too, not the Dominicans. Thank you. But do we have time to sing, or do we skip that last? I think we need to go to eat. But for your eyes, I have the Aurora Pulchra, so that's familiar to you. And for the last bit of happiness, your rose.
Thank you. Quelques minutes pour poser des questions. Alors donc, Hubert, oui.
I have 2 questions. First, the beginning of your lesson about the codex sources. Why there is a codex in Melbourne? Why so far? How is it possible? First question. And the second, and after you can answer. The second, I wonder if the music is more melismatic in the Aquinas office than syllabic in the Dominicus office. Perhaps it's also there are longer text. There are so many things to say about Aquinas in the anthem. Then the music is necessarily more syllabic if you want to put longer text. That melismatic if you have only 3 syllables for an Alleluia. It's a technical problem. Just.
Thank you very much. And the Melbourne, it's a Poissy. The manuscript is from France, but it's kept there. And it's an important manuscript for the research. And then the other question, I totally agree that with the Thomas Aquinas, there were need for more words and to describe everything. And with the Dominicus, well, it's just my guess that it's the devotion and the was there more with the melismasy.
Monsieur l'abbé, pour ici, là. Et Marcel, il veut dire quelque chose, je suis sûr.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm not Dominican, so this is the very first time I've been introduced to this chant. But as soon as you mentioned the concept of melismasy, it's the first time I hear the word.
Yes.
It made me think of Lauda Sion Salvatorem. 1.
Yes.
Tantum ergo sacramentum.
Yes.
1.2, very low.
Yeah.
I don't know if those melodies came from St. Thomas Aquinas or just from the Corpus Christi feast day, but the question is there any relationship between Thomas Aquinas, author of the Fête Dieu, and what the Dominicans produced for their own office, or if that makes sense as a question? Is there any relationship between...
Do you mean with the hymnology or with the hymn, for example?
Well, just if there's any musical recognition of St. Thomas Aquinas that appears actually in the liturgy of Corpus Christi.
Oh, with the well, with Corpus Christi, I haven't researched it. Only I have researched a little bit, but of course the themes are there. The Corpus Christi themes are in the Thomas's office, and
The reason being because I don't know the Dominican chant, but I'm familiar with Corpus Christi. And when as soon as you mentioned melismas, I was thinking, well, everything I know about Thomas Aquinas is almost one.
Yeah, but the hymnology, hymns are not hymnology, but hymns are almost always syllabic. So it's just another type of composition. Because then one time I was talking with one Benedictine, and I said that, these melismatic chants, they are so meditative and so contemplative. And then he said, like, really? How about the hymn? And then I was like, okay, it is not the comparison of that a syllabic and melismas would be, a value in itself, but the kind of the meaning of the chant, because with the hymns, it is the syllabic hymn. It is always has its place, and they are always very. Do you want to say about something about the hymns? Because it's it's something that I really appreciate. That chant genres give you different kinds of ideas, also of modality, and with the hymns. For example, in Thomas's offices, you sing with the same melody, all the hymns. So it's a different kind of approach to the whole modality, but as valuable. Do you want to say?
Encore une dernière question, là, le frère Renaud.
I would like to ask you, do you think that this kind of music must be treated as a lyrical art so as to be performed properly? And in a way, my question is interested. It's because if Dominicans would like to sing that kind of music for special occasions, what does it involve as far as preparation is concerned? And do we have to be trained as lyrical artists?
No. I think that, thank you for the question, and I try to be really short because I love this question. I think the only criteria is that you can sing the chants in many ways, and I'm a little bit wild, so I'm always trying to get a little bit slowlier and humbler. But I think always there is also the relationship of the singers with the space. So when you are singing, for example, in the church where we sang last night, you just barely have to open your mouth and the church does the work for you. So you don't have to change anything in you. And the ways of performing, I would say that it's the ways of prayer, that you can do it as many ways as you want to, as long I would wish that there would be more interest in the silences, but you do have them, but in the liturgy, so my answer is no. I'm trying to get from the loud to the ground, and
you just sing like you ever want to. But if we want to think about it, I would always consider the relationship with the acoustics, so that the church can ring the sound a little bit, have its own voice. Is that maybe?
Merci beaucoup. Nous allons arrêter là notre discussion. Nous reprenons, pour terminer cette dernière après-midi de colloque, à 14h, et nous écouterons Marcel Pérez, Emmanuel Pellapra, je ne sais pas s'il est là, il devrait être là, et Hubert Borde, et nous aurons ensuite les conclusions prospectives du frère Emmanuel Perrier. Emmanuel Pellapra, non, il n'y a pas de main qui se lève. Bon. Alors, pour les invités, nous nous retrouvons, partons tous ensemble, donc à l'entrée de la salle, à partir de l'entrée de la salle. Merci.